Hi there, cyber warriors. Welcome to Cybershots by CSA Bangalore Chapter. In this talk, we will hack into the world of cybersecurity. This is Satyavati Devadari, founder and president of Cloud Security Alliance Bangalore Chapter. So we are bringing interesting stories and case studies by experienced and expert professionals onto this channel to discuss about emerging topics, case studies, various stories, one topic every episode. So that is the idea of this podcast series. Before jumping on to the topic and the technical discussion, first, how about having some fun? Here is a fun fact about me. I'm so into movies. My family believes that I can go on watching movies morning to night without even taking break or having a snack. That is me. So with that as a mindset, let me ask you as an audience, imagine yourself. You are casted in a blockbuster movie. What is the character you want to pick? Do you want to be a mysterious dude who can crack uncrackable code? Or you are the hacker, the very technology intensive hacker who can hack into the dark web? Or you are the genius who can make the greatest in technology and bring it to the world? Whichever you want to be. Think about it and write it in the comment section below. While you do so, let me ask our guests today, Indranil and Hashmi. Hi. Please introduce yourself and also let us know what is the character you would like to play in a movie. Let me start with Indrajit sir. Sir, can you speak out yourself and give a tidbit of yourself?
Hi, Satya, Anand, Ashwani. Pleasure to meet you here today on a very pertinent topic to talk. And I think, Satya, you really set the stage up of being a hacker into the dark web, cracking codes, attributing the criminals, trying to find out who they are, trying to investigate cases in a very time-bound manner. Makes really exciting space to work in. A cryptocurrency frauds happening, ransomware happening, a critical infrastructure getting ransomware. You are running. So it's really very interesting, I think, area which we're going to talk. And a word about me, I'm Colonel Indrajit. I'm, like my name says, I'm a military veteran into 25 years into Army and thereafter into the corporate. And enjoying the cybersecurity space, working in the dark web, cryptocurrency, ransomware, advising government and various law enforcement agencies for this particular kind of crimes which are happening today.
Thank you. Thank you, Indrajit. Ashwini, how about you?
Yeah, so Satya and Anand and Indrajit, hi all of you, and thank you for having me here. Unlike Indrajit, right, I've spent all my time in the corporate, so it's been close to 15 years. I think I've stopped counting after that. So I've predominantly work in the SDL area, application security and product security, and these areas. But yes, I've had experience in terms of ransomware and what is the protection for ransomware, what's the best solution. So spend some amount of time doing that. So there are different facets to it. So working on all of those aspects, everything related to security, right? So I don't want to pick and point on one of those things, but yeah, 15 years in security and been doing all of those things related to security.
How about the fun fact?
Oh, fun fact. Yeah. So I did think about it when you were asking the audience and who would I pick, right? Like, and I have like a slideshow of different characters. I think it's really difficult for me to pick one and say I can put myself in a box here. But I think we are all beyond what script writers put in a movie, right? So we have so many dimensions to ourselves. So if you ask me like a character, I obviously in my life, I would prefer to be the main character doing all sorts of things. But with respect to work, I think think I would be that special character in a movie who comes in and changes the plot of the movie for like a 5-minute role and then just disappears, right? So I am that person, is what I think.
Okay, excellent. In this, I think you missed that. Give us the fun part of it. Which character you like to play? Hope I got you. No, maybe we'll come back onto that question after a while. Over to my co-host here, Anand. He's a very creative and highly professional cybersecurity individual. And then he has this energy, right? He comes with a certain high energy always. With that said, so he's also our cybersecurity mentor on CSA Bangalore Chapter. Anand, welcome to this podcast co-host series. And over to you for introduction as well as your own tidbits, and then also take over from me to start the topic of today, the ransomware.
Sure, Satya. Thanks for the introduction. And first, I would like to talk about the character which you were just asking. So, I'd like to play the the character of Jarvis, as well as I would love to be the character who actually solves the problem whenever it is very much required, specifically at the wartime. So, I would like to be a person who loves to hear the problem statement and identify the solution in a ninja way and get the things done in that particular speed. So that's what I would like to add from my perspective. And with that, hello and welcome everyone to the very first episode of Cybershots. And I'm your host Anand Kumar Jha, and I'm very thrilled to have you on this exciting journey. In this podcast, we'll be diving into critical topics that affects individuals, businesses, and government worldwide. That is ransomware. Whether you are here to learn, explore, or simply enjoy some engaging conversation, you are in the right place. Ransomware is making it inaccessible until a ransom is paid to the attacker. There is no such guaranteed pattern that a ransomware attack will happen in a pretty defined way. There are plenty of such techniques which an attacker uses and lures you to click or download this malicious software that allows that software to infiltrate the system. So once inside, ransomware can spread rapidly, locking files and sometimes entire systems, and victims are then presented with a ransom note demanding payment in exchange of their valuable data. The impact of ransomware can be devastating, leading to significant financial losses, disruptions, and potential data breaches, thus highlighting the need of a robust cybersecurity measures. To help us navigate, as you already mentioned, Satya, on this frightening topic, we have two incredible guests with us today, Dr. Inderjeet Singh and Ashwini Siddhi. Thank you both for being here with us today. So, just a quick information on this podcast plan. Like we have divided this entire podcast into 5 segments, where you will be finding questions focused to those segments. Everything will be in the context of ransomware only. So, I'll keep you sharing the detail of each and every segment before kickstarting that. Now, without further ado, let's jump into this very first topic of our podcast, that is ransomware, and let's get started. So, we'll be starting with you, Dr. Indrajit sir, and this is the first common question. So, to kick things off, could each of you give us a brief overview of what ransomware is and how it typically infiltrates an organization?
Just to give a heads up, ransomware has become a very critical kind of attacks which are happening. While we are talking, every 11 seconds, there is one attack on the organization which are there. And whenever there's an attack, there's a loss of either a reputation, where people are losing money, there's a downtime, they're getting plenty. And like I told you, it takes almost an average of 21 days to maybe 60 days to come back and work the normal. And you take any infrastructure, whether it's your hospitals, whether it's your organizations, whether it's colleges, whether it's a critical infrastructure, all of them have become a target. And why this is becoming a big menace is because the hackers have the ability to hide themselves, their ability to hide the ransomware which they pick up through the crypto or through one of the Monero's cryptocurrency, and try to cash it out into the currency of their choice, and they're out. So the infrastructure today of the ransomware has become a very critical. So we are seeing ransom guys who are building up the ransom. There are ransomware as a service who are there. There are affiliates who are there. There are initial access broker who are there. So it's become like a profit and loss company today, and that's how they're operating. So it's at the time in the times ahead, it's really a real concern.
No, thanks for adding, Dr. Indrajit. So anything that you'd like to add, Ashwini, from your side?
Oh yes, like when I look at it from the terms of impact, right? For me, ransomware is an arsenal, right? As a tool for cyber warfare. It can be used for state-sponsored attacks to bring down your critical infrastructure, like what happened with the Colonial Pipe attack, right? So it brought down the critical infrastructure, and it could also bring down your healthcare systems, like what happened with the UK NHS, what happened with Ireland, and all of these, right? So your society is impacted, your critical infrastructure is impacted, the lives of people is impacted. So it has the potential to cause significant harm to a state itself. So I believe ransomware is not just another threat to the software or hardware, it is an arsenal for cyber warfare, and that's what I think about it.
No, thanks. That really adds a lot. So, all right. So, let me ask a specific question to you, Dr. Indrajit. So, from your experience, what has been the most common point of entry for ransomware in the organization you have worked with?
So most of the time, wherever we find, as a experience, what I saw, the phishing attacks are the one which really caused the ransomware to happen. And that's what we really emphasize as to the people should not click on any malicious links. They should be very careful on clicking on any link in the mail what they get, because hackers are able to impersonate their kind of identities and make the people click on it. So, and the things are really getting worse with the chat GPT coming in. Earlier, we used to see that most of the mails which were coming as a phishing mails were a mail which had a lot of grammatical mistakes. And we used to identify them as a phishing mail by the look at it. Now, with
Right.
the chat GPT coming in, Gen AI coming in, they're becoming very precision, and they're grammatically perfect. Very difficult to identify those mails, whether it's a phishing mail or it's a benign mail. And you have to really train now your workforce to look into these kind of things, which is quite challenging.
Yeah, I couldn't disagree much, Dr. Indrajit. And in fact, there are a lot of things that organizations even do in that particular area, specifically when we talk about phishing emails. In fact, the regulated industries like, a banking and healthcare sector, in fact, they are also having, the e-learning trainings specifically for the employees, so that they can also get much more details about this type of attacks, and they should not fall into the, because end of the day, your employee as well as your internal employee is the weakest link in the organization, which can be easily tapped and people can intrude into the. So very nice summed up. Now a specific question to you, Ashwini. So what is the obvious signs or indicators that an organization might be under threat from a ransomware?
Right. So, ransomware, yes, phishing is like the first thing that we say that it infiltrates through phishing emails. But ransomware groups operate as ransomware as a service, right? They hire people, they build teams, they have n number of different positions, and each one's creative and do their own things. So a potential indicator is how many phishing mails you're getting in, right? So that's the first thing. But they're not limited to it. There's also about your access being sold on the dark web, your RDP, if you're using SMB, any other vulnerabilities you've not patched. So there are n number of other things using which ransomware can get into the system. So there are diverse indicators of compromise too here. It could mean that okay, there's suddenly a change in the file system, right? A particular file has changed for no reason, and your systems become slower. There's unusual network activity that is happening. Obviously, you have detection systems. You see, there's different traffic connecting to different systems. So all of these are different. Indicators. Obviously, the most common one is like a note out there saying that, okay, please pay up this ransom or contact so and so. That's the most obvious one. But to get to there, right, they obviously have these different steps, and encrypting your data and taking that backup is one of the predominant steps. And while they're doing it, the groups are really smart technically. I'm in awe of their technical skills. They can encrypt data in like a matter of 2 to 3 minutes and put data out there. So within that period, yes, your system's slow, but after that, if you're away and you probably would not realize. So changes to your file system, some unintended encryption is the most important or red flag that I would say for a ransomware activity.
Just want to add on to what Ashwini and Indranjeet said. So when ransomware is in the wrong hands, right, even a country can be brought to shame. So there are examples that already happened, like the Ukraine war scenarios where entire critical infrastructure for multiple cities was brought down, identifying they identified the I think of the critical infrastructure systems, which generally work in legacy mode, and they identified the system which have weaknesses and use the ransomware to actually hijack the entire telephone and credit card and banking, all the essential facilities. Imagine that, right? So that could happen. There are a lot of discussions are whether that was done by Russia, who have done it, whatever have done it. We are not discussing any war scenarios here, but the point here is ransomware can be as harmful as I think Ashwini mentioned earlier, healthcare, right? So entire NHS, the National Healthcare System of UK was stuck for a long time, yeah. And then around I think 20,000 patients were sent home because you can't find even the registration records to know what they are actually suffering from, who they are, what they should do. So there is no way for them to treat the patients. Imagine you are a patient, you are going to the hospital, they say that, no, I can't find your name, so you go back. That was a scenario, and considering the sophistication, what Indranjeet has mentioned, with Gen AI and everything, the type of attacks are getting much more stronger because there is a lot of money they can get, right, through the ransomware as a service. Obviously, they are investing in making it more sophisticated, so we need to take all the cautions, whatever is necessary. That 2 cents back to you, Arun.
No, thanks. Thanks everyone for adding the great insights around this. So with this, we are ending up our first segment. So now let's move to the next segment of our podcast, which is impact and response. As we all are talking about the statistics and data around with various examples. So let me add some statistical data and examples available in public around the impact that was created by ransomware. So the first one is like in 2021, there was an attack by ransomware attackers named as Revil to JBS Foods, which impacted their system restoration facilities. And to restore that, they had to pay a hefty amount of $11 million. Another statistics, if I could talk about, that is about an organization called Maersk, where there was a ransomware attack in 2017 and which impacted their information technology systems and disrupted their critical transaction activities, which again caused them a loss of $300 million. Now, in that perspective, my first question is to you, Ashwini. Like, and this is a common speaker to question to both of your speakers. So let's discuss about an impact at a broader and wider level. how does ransomware affect not only just the IT infrastructure, but the overall business operations?
Oh, I like that question, right? And that example that you gave about Maersk. So when Maersk happened, it was not just about the company, right? So yes, logistics were affected. There were ships stranded and cargo, and the entire supply chain was affected. So goods being transported from one country to the other was halted. It's impacted sales and a lot of other things, right? So it is a cascading effect. So it's not just about one organization we're talking about different things that are connected to it. But when it comes to a specific business, if we look at it, right? So we look at it in terms of, okay, my IT systems are down. So what happens in that case? Maybe my users cannot access it. We probably lose business for so and so time. Yes, that's the pretty obvious thing. But you are spending time with legal, you're spending time with compliance, regulatory aspects. You are discussing aspects of it. If you want to if you're responsible to be paying any fine for it, you're also responsible to be reporting it in the right channel. It's a PR nightmare, right? So your marketing team is handling it. And also your incident response team, right, is up and spending all days and night trying to fix it, bring back your backup and whatever, and trying to recover. And right, so it has n number of implications across divisions and across pillars of a given organization itself. So any development activity in terms of, any new features that are going to be added to your product, etc., is all halted, and the entire organization's focus is on the ransomware and how to get around it and what each one can learn from it as a lesson and do better, right? In that time, you're losing out the time to build new products. You're losing out that time to market. Your competitor is catching up with you, right? And your reputation is already damaged because it's a PR nightmare. So you're, way behind your competitor. It's really, damaging. So it's to recover from a high profile ransomware attack, I would say is a big deal, and it impacts all sorts of operations for you.
Very nicely summed up, Ashwini. In fact, if I just think from a real lifetime example perspective, it's a very simple example that you're at an airport, your flight gets delayed, and there is a change that you can expect in all the 180 passengers in their life. It's a similar thing that happens, specifically a ransomware, which is actually attacking a logistics, industry, where, as you mentioned, that shipments are there, where that needs to be delivered to someone. It's a very much, critical benefit for someone. It could be not of critical benefit for someone, but end of the day, a lot of lives are getting affected. So yeah, very good example on that part. Anything that
You're
you'd
right
like to
about
add
that,
in the
flights,
I think it's the point.
airports being attacked, right? So, but it's sadly, it's not just one flight, it's all the flights out of the airport, right? There's like thousands of passengers, and when you have senior citizens traveling without somebody assisting them, right? It's difficult, right? It comes down to a human problem, right? So ransomware, so all of these issues.
Actually, it happened in 2017, WannaCry. So there are even the international flights, as well as the entire flight management and aircraft management system has come to a halt because I'm not taking the name of the organization, but it happened already. It's not that we are speaking in the air or we are making up the examples. It did happen.
Right.
Okay.
No, thanks for adding up, Satya. So over to you, Indrajit sir. Anything that you'd like to add?
I'll add to what Ashwini told. So she very rightly told, because starting from your HR team to your legal team to your CFO to your media team to your CEO to your stakeholders to your users to your investors, everybody is involved, and we always only think that only the CISO is the one who's responsible for it, right? So we always put his head on the anvil and try to chop it, but that's not the way. It's everybody's responsibility today, because there is a challenges of sending the cryptocurrency across border. How you're going to do that? There are legal challenges associated with it. There is the insurance, and interestingly, most of the ransomware attacks where it's happened, they have cyber insurance. And one of the studies showed that the criminals actually attacked a cyber insurance company to find out the data who have got cyber insurance. And then they pressurize to take the insurance from the insurance company and pay, right? So that is how they really act. So you're going to have the insurances under pressure. Your CEOs are going to be under pressure for that matter. The stakeholders are all going to be asking you, and then you have a bigger question whether you pay or not to pay, right? So how are you going to
Agree.
handle that situation? Because as per the not in India, of course, but other places, it's being told that you should not pay, right? And but then we take I'll touch upon later, maybe on the change healthcare system where they have paid almost $22 million right now, that not very far away in the month of March. And if you look at the booty which all this ransomware has gone in, it's almost accumulating to $2 billion last year. That's a huge amount. And that's how they are trying to, play with the issues of data. They try to play with the issues of reputation of the company. They try to operational disruption, what we have seen. So every case which you take as a case study, like Ashwini touched upon the cloning pipeline, they were offline for a couple of days. They started, supplying the fuel to the trucks. Their aviation sector was kind of problematic, and there are lots of issues which really come up when it comes to a ransomware attack. It's not a plain simple attack which is happening, and most of the time there's another offshoot to this. If companies are not paying them, they're hitting them again, right, after some
Right.
days. So that's again a problem. So it's not that you've done away with it with one attack and you're going to be happy that we have overcome it. It's a persistent problem, and there are solutions, of course, but then the problem remains plenty.
Right. Right. No, thanks for adding that, Dr. Indrajit. So now another specific question to you, Ashwini. Like, as we are talking about what to do, what not to do, so the question is around that. So in terms of response, what immediate actions should an organization take once they have identified that there is a ransomware attack?
Obviously, the common thing response would be like disconnect, right? So disconnect and sandbox and quarantine your whatever systems that have been identified, go offline for some amount of time. But that's, a response to a ransomware is a pretty straightforward thing, right? In that sense, it's also about what you've done before all of these things, right? It's not about if I'm protected against ransomware or not, right? Your thought process should be that when is this ransomware attack going to happen to me, right? So what have you done before you respond? Do you have your incident response plan in place just for response, right? I'm not even talking about prevention and detection and all of that. Just to respond, you need to have like an incident response plan. People need to put out call on members, who to call, who to work with in times of such a situation, right? If that person's not available, is on vacation in some random island without network, who else would you reach out to? You need team members, the right team members. How would you work with them? So have that plan, go to that plan, take a look at that plan, reach out to the right set of people, and then disconnect it. Understand the impact, what's going to happen when you disconnect or go offline, and take countermeasures to at least communicate that this is going to happen. Just don't go offline randomly and leave people, guessing what happened, right? A lot of companies do that. Suddenly you see, Twitter is not working for 2 hours and just outage. ChatGPT is not working. I'm not saying they're all ransomware attacks, but it could be some, not even security incident, right? It's some incident that has happened, right? So, but the end users are not aware. They're constantly checking, and it's not a good user experience. Maybe the big ones can handle it, but if you're a small and medium business, would your customers be happy about it? You just have a smaller set of business, right? So communication becomes important too. So it's about having a plan, reaching out to the right set of people, disconnecting, communicating, and then taking the next step of actions about forensic analysis. You don't want to delete certain data. The signatures are important. So a number of things like this. Analysis is the next step. What you would do to identify where it came from, who's the probable group, and all of these things. I think it's all related when you talk about a response to a ransomware.
No, that's great. That's great. In fact, to our listeners specifically, that the major point which they need to understand that only disconnection is not the the final thing. There are multiple things that they need to extract as a part of the process, and this is how they need to fall in the process of response. So thank you for that. Now, specific question to you, Dr. Inderjeet Singh. Like, can you share an example of a ransomware attack that had a devastating effect on the overall business?
Yeah, very interesting. Thanks, Anand. Very interesting question. And uh, like we're already discussing, all the ransomware attack, whenever they happen, they got a long-term ramifications. There's a damage to the company, where there's a financial loss, there's a data loss, there's reputation loss, there's operational loss, which all happens. So one such case which I would like to discuss, which happened very recently in the month of March, February, March, I'll put it, was of the Change Healthcare System. And Change Healthcare System is a tech giant and in US, and they are primarily they are holders of the prescription medicines. They're the largest processors of that, and they're handling a billing of almost 67,000 pharmacies in the US. That's quite a huge, number, and they handle 15 billion healthcare transactions annually. Having said so, the hackers, the ransomware group, the Alpha V called, and the Black Cat, so-called, they are the groups which there's only one group which kind of attacked them, and they were hit by a severe ransomware attack. And when the ransomware attack happened, they infiltrated into the network, they encrypted the complete data, and they started demanding the ransom for release. Interestingly, there was the complete thing was handled by an affiliate group, right, of the Alpha V ransom, right? They were the ones who were doing it. So these attackers targeted the key system. They managed the complete data from there. They were able to get the information which was required. They encrypted the data, and the disruption was so large that the hospitals, the clinics, and the other healthcare system providers in the US were actually getting affected, right? And like I told you, they are the processors of all the prescription medications. So the companies who are the insurance and the hospitals, right? They were not getting the money to process the medicine medications, right? So in fact, because a lot of money which comes from insurance actually is being pumped into the hospitals for medication, that was not really getting through. So it hampered the ability of all the healthcare facilities to access patient records. They were not able to process the insurance claims. They were not able to manage the billing, and there was operational chaos. There were delay in the patient care. Right now, what was it which happened? While all this was happening, the attack was really very, very high magnitude, and they asked a ransomware of $22 million. Initially, they said we are not going to pay it because it's not in the way we have to do it. But then they kind of calculated the losses. They total up that it's $100 million loss every day they are facing, and they ended up paying. Now, the the problem which started was the money which was being paid was to the affiliate. Affiliate is the middleman between the hacker and the
Right.
and then the ransomware as a service guys, right? And here the affiliate transferred the money to the Alpha V Black Cat hacker, and the ransomware guys moved out. They vanished from the scene itself. Okay, after taking the money. Now, this is a very critical situation. You don't know the criminal who's taken the money. They vanished, and the affiliate who actually had was the 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 team which actually had done the crime. They didn't know what to do because they had the data, which was encrypted, right? And they had collected the ransomware, and it was a kind of a big exit scam which really happened, right? And this is how uh, this Change Healthcare has brought so many eyebrows which are raised. There's so many questions which are raised on the legality or the authenticity of or the kind of integrity of this ransomware guys, right? And lots of things are happening in the background as to how this thing can be overcome now.
Interesting story, and really people have to think twice before paying such type of ransom to any type of these attackers going forward.
Yeah.
So
And
thanks for
see,
your valuable
the
insights in this
problem is
particular.
that,
Yeah,
and earlier they used to say, the ransomware guys used to say, we will not, attack the healthcare. With this kind of
right,
attacks and the hospitals paying up, the money,
right.
it has given them a boost to attack on these institutions.
Yeah, agree. Couldn't disagree on that particular point. So thanks again for your valuable insights in this particular segment. And now the time waits for another segment, that is prevention and future trends. So we all know that ransomware poses a dynamic and evolving threat landscape that requires a proactive and adaptable approach to prevent and or to do the prevention and response. So by understanding the current challenges and anticipating the future trends, organization can better position themselves to defend against ransomware attacks and minimize their impact. Now, first I would like to ask you, Dr. Indrajit, that taking this particular pointers into consideration and looking ahead, what do you think are the emerging trends in ransomware attack, and how can organizations stay one step ahead in these particular cases?
But this is very interesting. Like I told you, as we talk, there is one ransomware attack happening every 11 seconds. And this frequency is only going to increase to 3 seconds by 2030. And there are so many complex methods which are being used by the ransomware criminal gangs. And just to tell you, I think we didn't touch upon one thing. All these ransomware gangs are not just a lone wolf. They have a very well organized, well oiled machinery which is working. So there are people who are working on the front end of application development of the ransomware, the malware, they're piggybacking malwares, they're kind of, trojans which they're able to develop. They're then having a team which is very good in the dark web to create the command and control servers, which are undetectable, very difficult to attribute. Then you have a team which is very good in the cryptocurrency handling part of it. So they know how the cryptocurrency has to be, taken from the victim, how it has to be mixed in different mixers, how it has to be converted into Monero, which are the exchanges where they can cash out. So it's a whole kind of a cycle which they have to do. And then on top of it, they have a kind of a CEO who runs the show, right? So this is a kind of gangs which are well organized. They know what they're doing, and they know where they're executing. So they have the plan in place. So we are against these kind of criminals who are already there. Now, when it comes to the trends which are emerging, we're already talking of double extortion, we are talking about triple extortion, right?
Right.
They want to tarnish the image of the companies which are there. Now, critical infrastructure is their target, whether it's your water treatment plant, your power supply, your aviation systems, your healthcare, your transportation, all these areas are under threat. And
Right.
just to tell you, we're already seeing US under the persistent threat from its adversary, Russia and China, on the threats on their water treatment plants, right? So they're critical infrastructure. So they have been mentioning this as a national red alert where they're already knowing that there's so much happening on the water treatment plant. The other thing which has emerged in last couple of months, I will say not years, is the supply chain attack. We saw the SolarWinds, one of the major attack which happened, and you may be very safe. You may have the best in line, the security, defense in depth, but your all the supply chain vendors who are there, they don't have the best in line security, right? And
Right.
with the cyberspace getting blurred, we don't have a defined, perimeter so-called today. Everything is out, whether it's a application, web apps which are there, or your servers which are there, your cloud computing which is there,
Yeah.
your applications in the cloud which are there. So a huge uh, ambit of all the applications, network, and services which you are providing. So there is no perimeter. So very difficult to control this kind of situation. And we are seeing the emergence of ransomware as a service, and that is growing very big. So it's the complete ecosystem of the ransomware criminals. It's like there's a ransomware guy who creates a ransomware. There are ransomware as a service groups who are selling it as a ransomware as a service, and they're taking around 60-40, 70-30 model what they're working. Then there are affiliates. So each of the ransomware groups have got a 14 to 15 affiliates who are doing the job which is there. And then there's something called an initial access broker, right? Who actually finds out a kind of through a phishing mail or an RDP or SMB, tries to gain a foothold in the organization. And now you work backwards.
Right.
Initial access broker gets a foothold, he sells it to your affiliate. Affiliate goes and buys the ransomware as a service, and the ransomware guy gives the ransomware which is best suited. And it is all these ransomwares are not just one ransom which comes in. So there are Trojans, which, say for example, there's a rat which gets into your organization first. That's a tool. Then is your Trojan. Then you have one kind of malware which gets in. Thereafter, you have all the applications with the Cobalt Strike or Mimikatz, which you try to implement. Then you have a next malware which comes in, which is piggybacking on the first malware, right? Then the second malware gets into it. And then the actual malware does the whole, action of encryption of data. And now what they're doing is they're not even bothered about encryption of data. Okay, they want to
Correct.
siphon off the data, and they try and put the data to the OneDrives which are there, and it's being distributed over the OneDrive. So that's what it is. So that's how they are trying to work today. So it's a very complex situation when it comes to the whole ecosystem which is coming up, right? And
Right.
how do you really, as an organization, work to overcome it? One is the most important is your employee training, and that's what I try to emphasize, because all the ransomwares, like I told you, phishing is one of the key area where all the cyber attacks start is your employee training. So whether it's your CEO or the last man in the organization, they have the equal responsibility of starting a cyber attack if it happens. Right. Second is, we train the people in silos, right? Like we have a bunch of people, we train them on cybersecurity, tell them about cyber hygiene. But believe you me, whenever there's a cyber attack which happens, the left hand doesn't know the right hand. Who's going to do what? Here, you need to train them on a kind of a tabletop exercises, bring them on a same platform, get the different kind of groups, whether it's a legal team, whether it's a CFO team, whether your HR, your media, your CEO, your stakeholders, get them all together, make them sit in a room, in a war room, train them together. Training people in silos is practically, with this kind of scenario of ransomware, it's only that he's getting a paper certificate, nothing else. So that's with a pinch of salt, of course, right? And if you have to tell them with the security part of it, you have to tell them that a defense in depth is the most important today. Zero trust is the most important today. Your crisis management plan is very important. Your incident response plan is very important. So these are the areas which you really needed to look into to secure yourself.
All right. No, that was a valuable information by you, Dr. Indrajit. Anything that you would like to add, Ashwini, on this one?
No, I think Indrajit's pretty much covered most of it, right? So I agree to him. Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to
All
add
right.
something.
So,
Maybe
yeah, sure.
Anand,
Please go ahead.
So I like the way you explained, right? So the entire story of who all are involved. So if I need to draw a parallel in a non-tech scenario, right? There used to be gold mafia, right? Like the, as I said, I'm a movie buff. Go back to KGF or some other, where we are actually people going for diamond searching or treasure hunt. Now the treasure hunt is all about where is the critical data, how can I siphon that, which dark web or which dark corner it is lying, get the people on and get it, and then do a blackmail. So I'm going in simple terms for a non-tech person to understand. For example, so what happens in a general blackmail scenario? You have a critical asset that could be a person's life, or an asset which you want very particularly a business itself or a document. All these are assets, right? So now what we are speaking right now, the ransomware as a service or ransomware as a mafia or ransomware as a, I don't know, group, gang, scam, whichever. The idea here is like this is actually putting a critical person. Um, my son had this example, that's why it strikes me immediately. Um, I was actually preparing for some seminar about IoT security, and then I come across somewhere where it said that the what they call the heart ventilators, right? The ventilators have some chips inside, and that could be hackable. Then he's saying, "What? Then somebody can hack into it and actually say that you pay this money, otherwise I kill that person." You understand what I mean? That is as sensitive as it is right now. It may not be when we are speaking about digital scenario. It's not into that personal space, but it is possible, right? In the way it's happening in the digital healthcare, where a person's insulin levels can be controlled using our machines, and they are controlled through a system, and that systems are controlled in the back end, the console. What if that console lands into a ransomware person? As earlier mentioned, so healthcare is no more actually under the exclusions list by the ransomware guys.
Right.
So what we will do? So these are all I'm speaking in the common man scenario. What could happen in a ransomware, and data being the new iron, new money, new gold, new diamond, whichever, and also
Agree.
new life,
Agree.
all are into that. So ransomware is getting more and more popular and critical. I think the response plan, what sir mentioned, is excellent. Just to add on to that bit,
Sure.
and what do you?
No, that was really great, Satya. Thanks for adding that. So, a quick question in the third section to Dr. Indrajit. So, what are some cutting edge technologies or strategies that are proving effective in preventing ransomware attacks?
So, what's happening right now, and that's what all of us do is we always look the security inward out, right? And we always say that, oh, perimeter is secure, all my devices are secure, everything outside is okay, whatever is happening is fine. And like I told you, we have a very porous perimeter today. So we have to change the strategy of thinking, of thinking outward in, right? When I say outward in, that means you should know in real time as to which device is infected. Where is the malware which is there? If there's a malware, is it communicating to the command and control center, or ransomware it's controlled to command and control? If there's an APT which is there, whether it's communicating backwards, how, kind of it's proliferating, it's doing a little movement, what is the kind of damage, what is happening. So it can only be possible if you're having the right kind of threat intelligence on your network. We have a threat hunting, which we do. We have a continuous red teaming, right? So we have a kind of a VAPT, which we do is a periodic process. I think is a time when we have to do a continuous VAPT. We have to have a continuous red teaming on the network. And most importantly, the auditing part. And that's where the whole problem lies. We have a periodic auditing. What happens when we do a paper audit, and that's what we do it thereafter? What after that 1 month of auditing? the 11 months are all vulnerable. Now is the time when you have to have the auditing of the whole network round the clock, 24/7, the continuous auditing. The problems are really getting complex with the AI coming in. And though we are not seeing the hackers using the similar kind of tools right now, but definitely they are going to use a similar kind of tools. So it's going to be a AI versus AI. We are going to have the tools which are more of XDR or the SIM, which is there, or SOAR or EDRs. We are trying to put in more of machine learning because signature-based tools are no more effective. We have to go in for that. We have to change the whole mindset to defend in depth and have the whole security paradigm aligned to that kind of thing to take on any ransomware attack, right? So, and of course, the zero trust, which I told you, that's a key area which most of the organizations should implement.
No, thanks, Dr. Indrajit. So a specific question to to Ashwini, like how do you see the role of cybersecurity insurance evolving in the context of ransomware?
Oh, that's a good question, right? I mean, I'm not even sure if all organizations have cyber insurance yet. And when we talk about cyber insurance for ransomware, we just think about it as paying ransom to the ransomware groups, right? But that's not it. It's about, like I said, the legal aspects of it, the legal fee, the compliance aspects of it. You need to bring in specialized forensic analysis team. Maybe your folks in the org will not help with this case. So you need different set of different people with those specialized skill set. And also there's a downtime and productivity. You need to catch up. You might need additional resources. So all of these things come into the picture when you talk about cyber insurance. And it's not just about paying up to a ransom. And that's why it's really important to consider cyber insurance for ransomware itself.
Thanks. That was a great summation, Ashwini. So thanks again, Ashwini and Dr. Indrajit. So now with this, we have completed segment 3 of our podcast. And now we are moving to a very interesting segment that is rapid fire round. So I'm moving the baton back to you, Satya. Over to you.
Thank you, Anand. As we wrap up today's enlightened session, so our guests will have only few seconds to answer each question. Add explanation only when necessary. Let's begin. Ashwini, the questions are first to you. First question. The deadliest encounter. What's the most lethal type of ransomware you have come across?
WannaCry, because it impacted NHS and patients could not go for surgeries, cancer patients, no chemotherapy. So that's really bad. So that's really deadly and fatal. Yeah.
Second one, negotiation status. Should companies negotiate with ransomware attacks? Yes or no?
Yes, they should certainly negotiate, but they shouldn't pay up. Meanwhile, they should do things at the back end and protect themselves.
Key to prevention. Which is more important for prevention, education or technology?
No, that's like asking for gardening. Do you want good soil or good tools? So the good grooming of it is education, and the tools is like, things that you do, technology plus that.
Excellent. Smart investment. Where should companies invest more? In security software or employee training?
Again, the same as the previous, right? It should be both. We can't do without each other.
Excellent. Last one, cybersecurity focus. Which should be the priority, prevention or detection?
Build your castles, build your prevention methodologies, but put in your alarms and detection centers too. They complement each other. You can't just have a camera and protect yourself. You just can't have a castle and assume that you're safe, right? You need both.
Excellent, excellent closure. I think. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to Indrajit sir. First one, what is the first action? Post-attack, should you report to authorities or start restoring systems?
So, as per the Indian government policy, the moment you come to know about a cyber attack, inform them, the Search India within 6 hours of you coming to.
Second one, top 3 effective responses. What are the most effective modes of response against ransomware?
Most effective mode of responses have a crisis management plan, an instant response plan, and don't pay up the ransom. That's the best.
Okay. Encryption or backup, which is the more crucial for ransomware resilience?
I'll say the backup, very important. Yeah. In case of any ransom, that's the only mantra you can be safeguarded.
Excellent. Recovery. What are the top 2 recommended recovery methods?
Top 2 recovery methods is the backup only, I will say, right? And without that, you cannot do anything.
So last one is the most interesting one in my nature. If you can predict the future in one word, what is the future of ransomware?
It's it's a 3 seconds every ransomware attack which is going to happen. That's what is being calculated by everyone, and I will go by that.
Excellent. I think that's a wonderful closure. As we wrap up, I like each of you. To give a single piece of advice, just I think 30 seconds as a call to action for our listeners. If you can, both of you.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
For me, it would be air-gapped backup solutions. When you talk about backup, it shouldn't be connected. It should be air-gapped, right? So keep that in mind. That's the foremost thing for ransomware protection response. Yeah, air-gapped backup solutions.
Excellent.
Okay, I'll add to the backup itself. I have a 3-to-1 strategy. Have 3 copies of backup, 2 offline, and 1 of connected. So that's what the best way of you getting secure.
Excellent. With that, thank you. I like to say big thank you to both of you on behalf of the Cloud Security Alliance Bangalore Chapter and the community. We appreciate your willingness to spend your valuable time providing your valuable insights and also giving all these additional stories which you brought up today. Really elevated my knowledge today. Same might applies to the audience there. Thank you very much. Thanks once again. Now, to our viewers, thank you for tuning to our today's episode. If you found this conversation about the cybersecurity enlightening, very soon we are going to come with a technical deep dive session around ransomware, where you will be getting more deeper insights on the technology aspects of it, as this is the burning topic. For that, please subscribe to our channel, Cybershots. I also invite you to visit our website, www.csabangalorechapter.com. Don't keep your knowledge yourself. Do share this podcast with your friends, colleagues. Continue the discussion in your workplace, in your groups and communities. That is how we can strengthen these defensive mechanisms what we have. Remember, cybersecurity is a team sport. In that, we are all in together. So watch our videos, spread the awareness. Let's create the cascade effect of awareness and resilience. Until next time, stay secure, stay vigilant. Thank you.